Good evening, tribe. PJ wearing Pam here. I wanted to do a super quick training on one of the topics Melissa requested, and that's growing an Instagram following. It is something I am still perfecting, but it is also something that I've been doing a lot of trainings on myself. So I feel like I have some insights that I can share, and I finally eclipsed the 1,000 followers mark, which is like pennies compared to most out there who are influencing, but it's a lot more than I had, and I was sitting around 700 for a long time until I started to dive into these trainings and use some things effectively. So I wanted to kind of dial down some of the tips that I could get from different things, from Brock Johnson's podcast, from what Janelle Summers recommends, from a couple different YouTube trainings that I've done, so on and so forth, and kind of extrapolated that information to some usable tips for you. So the first thing I want you to consider is quality over quantity. So now on the Instagram algorithms, and this is also true for Facebook, they'd rather you post valuable content that people are going to be responding to than feel like you need to post 3 to 5 times a day. It's not necessary, especially since stories started. So use some of your content that's kind of expendable or in the moment for your Instagram stories, and use your profile to really build your brand and to build who you are as a person. So I like to float through a couple of different things on my Instagram profile. My fitness, obviously, my nutrition, my family, an inspirational quote, and then kind of the excess side of me, like being a teacher, being a reader, someone who loves music. You know, every once in a while I'll toss in one of those. I try not to do any of these in a row, so you will never see 2 motivational quotes in a row. You will never see 2 pictures of just the kids in a row, 2 pictures of my fitness in a row. I try to vary it and make sure that I'm not spending too much time on something that's a little inconsequential. Since I've started doing that, it's taken the pressure off, and I feel a little less like I have to post X number of times a day, because I've got this idea of what it is that I need and to spread out my content. And I use the tools within Instagram to edit my photos now. I have noticed on Instagram that pictures with text on them do not perform as well as solid images. Now, it's different if you have a quote with text or like a background image, the text is the main part. But if it's a picture of you with like your shake bottle floating here and like all these words, for whatever reason, they just don't do as well anymore. So I would consider letting go of those. The other thing when you're being consistent is to really focus on that top 9. I think it sounds silly when people say it, but it really does make sense, because if someone was to Google you from your Facebook page, they find you, they think you're interesting, they'll Google your Instagram, they will see your top 9 posts. If someone was to see a post of yours and click on you, the first thing they would see is your top 9 before they scroll down. So if you are giving them all 5 of like your top 5 things, they're going to see that in your full 9. If you're going video of you working out, video of you working out, video of you working out, 3 motivational quotes, 2 pictures of your family, and it feels a little jumbled, they're just going to think you're not doing this professionally. I know we're all ourselves, so be yourself on your Instagram, but be yourself and think about this post is really awesome, but it's so similar to the one I just posted. Type it up, save it as a draft, and post it another day. You know, give it a little bit of space in between. Okay, so now let's talk about hashtags. Some things that are important with hashtags is to have a list of close to 30. Brock Johnson is one that suggests you don't do the maximum 30 because Instagram reads that as a spam bot, like an automatic loading of hashtags. He suggests around 27, 28, or 29 hashtags, so you're not on the Instagram radar. You can use a hashtag generator, but one of the things that's really important is that your hashtags sit around 5,000 or so recent posts. So when you're typing up your hashtag, you will see it'll come up with recommended like continuation. So if I'm typing fit mom, as I do that, it'll show fit mom of 2, fit moms, fit mom of 3, fit mom of 5, fit moms, style. Like it'll just like show them. And next to that is a running list of numbers. 1,277 for fit moms. 200,036. If that makes sense, 360 for fit mom of 2, and then suddenly it's like fit mom style has 5,002 posts. that's the one I'm going to pick, because that is one where I'm most likely to trend. And when you're trending, or you're listed as a top 9 of that hashtag, or you're the most current, when someone searches that hashtag, you're going to be sitting up on that top 9 as well. So it'll give your posts more life. I didn't understand this, but it really is true. So I've started to pay attention, and I keep a list in the notes of my phone of the hashtags that seem to be working for me, and I copy and paste them in. I'll edit some of them. Like one of them was yoga pose of the day, which seemed to not have a lot of followers when I started using it when I was doing my yoga pose. But when I'm not doing a yoga pose, I will remove that one and I will type in something more specific to whatever I'm posting. So if it's a picture of overnight oats, I will take out my yoga pose of the day, I'll type in overnight oats and see how those hashtags populate. And I think yesterday it was like overnight oats in a jar, had around 5,000 posts. That's the one I typed in, because that is the one that's going to get me to rank, and it's going to get me to get more followers. I have exceeded like the 1,000 mark in the last 2 weeks, and it just keeps like fluctuating, because some people follow, they're just bots that are following you, but I'm seeing steady growth once I change this with my hashtags. Another thing with your hashtags, is to try to avoid Beachbody hashtags all the time. But once in a while, it's a cool thing to do. So, you're doing 80-Day Obsession for the first time, tag Carl, tag Autumn, to Beachbody on Demand. But for the most part, 9 out of 10 of your posts, you want it to be subtle what it is that you're doing. You want people to ask you those questions. And then this way, when they answer you, or when they ask that question, you reply to them with like, oh my God, it's this new workout, I'm going to message you with the details. So that someone else wants to ask you. Because if you just say it right there and you put my Beachbody on Demand workout as your hashtag, someone's just going to go Google Beachbody on Demand. This happened to me over break. There's a guy at my school, he's one of the foods teachers, and he's been coming to the Fit Club. He asked me if he could get Beachbody on Demand for break, and do a membership for his wife and him to do together. I sent him the link. He emailed me. He couldn't find the link that I sent him because he's a guy. He had deleted it. He's like, oh, never mind. I just Googled it. And I was, out with my kids at Disney on Ice the day after Christmas, and I didn't get his message in time, so he just signed up for Beachbody on Demand on his own. Because he knew what he was going for. He couldn't follow my link. He just Googled it and found it. So try not to give people that information. I have since tracked down his order number and switched him to me, but it was a big pain in the butt and an extra step. So don't give away too much. And those hashtags are saturated with Beachbody coaches. And oftentimes the only people looking them up are other Beachbody coaches. And you don't need Melanie Mitro finding your post. You need somebody who's also finding Melanie Mitro to find your post, like Leah, who's going to come to us instead of to her, because we are homey and lovely and adorable. Anyway, all right, so enough with that. The other thing you want to do is interact with those top hashtags. So once you find the hashtags for you that work, like Fit Moms of New Jersey, I'm going to click on that hashtag and I'm going to find some other people using it. I'm going to look and see if they are, Beachbody coaches. If they are, I'm going to pass them by. But if they are just women who take bar classes in Ridgewood, I am going to start interacting with them. And you can do that, Ccq Method. So it's comment, compliment, question. I've been doing this a lot, and it does make a big difference. Oh my gosh, that your baby is adorable. I can't believe mine are as old as they are already. How old is yours? And that's going to get that person to respond to me. Eventually, hopefully, we can push that into a private message, and we can get those people into our queue. So you want to take those hashtags and you want to interact with the people within that niche group that are not Beachbody coaches. You also can do, I do not do this because I just need to find time in my life to not be on social media, but a great method, which would grow you even more exponentially, is the 10-10-10 method. So you add 10 new friends a day, you like 10 pictures, and you comment on 10 pictures. It's kind of a very simple way for you to grow your own following and to breed your own garden. My corporate rep, Lacey, that I have my calls with once in a while, one of the things she says is, you've got to, things will grow where you water, right? So you've got to plant seeds, but you have to water them. So going into those 10-10-10s is a good way for you to water. If it's a hashtag follower, someone that found you through a hashtag, and now you're commenting and liking their posts once in a while, they're going to return the favor and hopefully become your best pal. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, and this is it, is your Instagram stories. They really can be an amazing tool if you use them effectively feel free to add your silly stuff on there, but don't make it all silly stuff. Try to vary your content. So at least one of your posts each day should be informational, whether it's a recipe, whether it's a fun fact about Shakeology, whether it's a fun fact about kale, whether it's a move of the day, whether it's a poll asking for an opinion on, boots, or sharing a coupon code for Fabletics, or something that you think would be helpful to your followers or helpful to you or whatever. Make sure you're doing that at least once a day. Make sure you are talking on your stories and not just doing images. The days where I'm doing solid images in a row, because, let's face it, there are times where it's awkward for me in the mall to be narrating on my Instagram, right? So I will just do images once in a while. Like in school, I can't be sitting there talking into my Instagram stories. But it's when I have a series of those in a row, people could care less, right? When I make them fascinating with adding the layer of text and adding information, that's one thing. But if it's a picture, like today I did a picture of the copy machine, I can't then follow that with a picture of my coffee, and then a picture of my shake, and then a picture of my lunch. I can't do all of that. Some, but not all in a row. When you do your stories, try to take the extra step, and I know I don't do this every time because it is an added step, but add a location. You can be anywhere in the world. So you add a location and be specific, pick different cities, especially if you spent the time to talk on something or you're giving information, you are most likely to end up in that story. Sometimes if I put, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania as my location for my story thread, and then I tweet, I make it gray and I pinch it as small as possible, and then I bury it down in the bottom so no one even sees that tag. If I end up in that location, oftentimes you also end up in the United States story, you end up in the Pittsburgh story, you end up in the Pennsylvania story. Melissa, make sure you go back and watch this from the beginning. This is my Instagram training. It's really a helpful thing. And when I do that, some of those posts have double or triple the normal viewers of my story posts that do not. And I know I'm getting followers from that. Another thing with your stories is to hashtag them. And one thing that I learned from Brock Johnson is that you can hidden hashtag up to 10 hashtags. You cannot do that fancy, pretty hashtag that's in the stickers. But if you do the text box, you can type in hashtags and you can go into those more popular hashtags that people are just looking for those stories of. They might look for Fit Mom or Move of the Day, or, clean eating recipes. They might look at those more generic hashtags on a story because they want to see what everyone's posting that day. Post them all in a row. You can do up to 10. Shrink it down small, and then you can slide it off the screen. If you just hold your finger on it, you can slide it where it's hardly visible. So people aren't clicking on that hashtag in your story, but if they go to the story with that hashtag, yours is going to be a part of it. I don't go sitting around watching people's stories, but plenty of people do. So, or, random hashtag stories, I mean. Another thing to make sure you're considering in your stories is callbacks to your content. So like today I sent people on a search to Leslie's Instagram account. Sometimes I send them to mine. From my Instagram account, I'll send them to my story. Don't do that every day. It's a wild goose chase and it might annoy people. But, every couple of days, it's kind of a cool thing to do a callback because you're building content in both areas of Instagram. Some people still don't know stories exist. Some people still don't know. My phone is yelling at me. Some people still don't know that, the regular Instagram feed is uploaded if they aren't seeing you in their feed. They might think you haven't posted in a couple days, but it just hasn't been on their thread. So if you're calling them back from one to the other, it's a good, helpful thing to make sure people see all the content you're offering. And then they stay focused, or if they caught your story because they are in Pittsburgh and you tagged it, and then your next slide, you call them back into your regular Instagram, they might start following you. And then finally, to do calls to action and polls almost every single day. And a call to action doesn't always have to be about coaching or about a challenge group. A call to action can just be like, hey, message me for this recipe. A call to action can be, I really need insight on leggings that I can wear to work that don't look like I'm wearing workout pants. Like, where do you girls get your leggings? They always look so cute. And when I try them on at Kohl's, I look ridiculous. So, where do you get your leggings? Ask people questions as well. Don't just give value, and don't just ask them to buy from you. Ask them questions on their expertise. People love being pros at what they're good at, or what they think they're good at, and they like to give you information. And then you can get those Instagram followers to really mean something to you. So those are some things. Make sure that you're continuing to dive into trainings on Instagram. I Google it all the time, and if it's current, I'll watch it. If it's an older, even within the last 6 months, I'm not going to watch it because Instagram has changed so much. any new information I'll come back and share with you. I'm hoping to, it said my phone storage is full, but I'm hoping I can upload this video to YouTube. If I can't, I'll make sure to, I made a Google Doc, and I'm going to save the links from all our team trainings from now on. So if someone needs a training on something, I can go back to the link and share it with you so that you can see this Instagram video in the future. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. If you have more Instagram thoughts or questions, please comment with them so we can all interact. And if I think of anything I failed to mention or I hear an amazing insight tomorrow, I will be sure to comment with it as well. We'll keep our Instagram stuff right here in this thread. Melissa, thank you for recommending this topic. We'll get to more things throughout the week, and I hope you guys have a great night.